So we often hear that our money just doesn't go as far nowadays. And with inflation and generally just rising costs on things like food all the way to camera equipment, it just doesn't seem like you can find a good deal anymore. But today I want to show you what 50 bucks can get you if you're patient and if you're clever. And I'm going to show you a $50 haul that I got for myself just a couple weeks ago. Let's get into it. If you don't know me, I'm Spencer, and I like to talk about simple living, frugality, and ways to reduce your technology usage, sometimes by using other technologies. So first off, I just want to share a few different money strategies, just some general tips that are going to help make your money stretch a little further, help you get the best bang for your buck. Starting with tip number one, you need to shop sales. If you're paying full-blown retail for most items, then you're going to have a very hard time making that money stretch. Prices are in fact going up, so you need to be vigilant. You need to wait and watch for a sale to come up, and then you need to strike like a snake. Tip number two is to buy used whenever possible. Now, I've talked about this in a previous video as well, where I went much more into detail on this topic. I'll link that above so you can check that out if you're interested. But buying used can save you a lot of money for a multitude of reasons. Now, used items are obviously going to be cheaper than their new counterparts, but you also have the ability to negotiate on those items and get them for even cheaper, which can lead to huge savings over buying them new. Tip number three is to pay cash. Now, as I've said, cash is king, and I'll link above to another video where I talk all about that in detail as well. But especially in getting a good deal in a used transaction, cash can be extremely beneficial. Showing the money just has a powerful effect in that negotiation process when it can really just turn up the heat and allow you to leverage getting a better price for that item by showing the amount that you're willing to pay. Now, when I buy used stuff on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji or even at a yard sale, I always offer a little bit lower than they're asking, and I offer it in cash. Now, about 90% of the time they agree to that price, but 99% of the time they come down in price at least a little and we meet somewhere in the middle. So using cash is a great way to get the best deal possible. It just has an immediacy, it has a little bit of power to it, which can help you get the best deal when you show that money. Tip number four is to broaden your search. Don't just look to the most convenient place like Amazon or Walmart to find that item. Take a look at online buy and sell groups and check out your local garage sale and yard sale scene. Specifically to yard sales and garage sales, I know in my experience, you may find something that you would never have imagined would be for sale there, and you're almost guaranteed to get it at a fraction of the new price. I buy so much stuff this way and I almost never buy new, and it really pays to do so. Tip number five is to just be patient. The Veruca Salt, don't care how, I want it now energy is not going to get you very far in life. You will almost certainly end up paying more money if you do it like that. Now, in sales negotiation, they say that the person who wants it the most loses, and that couldn't be more true. If you have to have something now, you're going to have to pay the going price for it at that time, which might not always be good. However, if you're willing to wait, when a deal does come up, you'll have the money in your steady hand and you'll be ready to get a screaming deal at that time. What I would recommend is to keep a list going of the items that you're looking to buy at some point, and then keep your eyes peeled on the used market for them to come up for a good deal. In my case, I carry this little notebook around with that list. If you're patient, it will always pay off. Okay, so now moving on to the bundle of stuff that I got for $50 just a few weeks ago. My girlfriend and I visited a local community garage sale and we struck gold. As I said, I keep an ongoing list of things that I'm looking for, and I keep my eyes peeled at all times for deals on those items. So we went to this garage sale quite a few times. We went there 3 times over 2 days, and we watched as sellers came and went and looked for any bargains on the items that we were looking for. And I want to highlight that we were really just looking for stuff that we needed, or that we at least really wanted and were going to use. We didn't want to get more stuff just because it was a good deal that was going to ultimately become clutter in our home. That's never good. The first 2 visits, we didn't really find anything. My girlfriend got a candle holder to put on the wall, but other than that, there wasn't much else. But it was the third visit that we started to find all of those things that we were looking for. The first deal that I found was on a good front rack for my bicycle. Now, I live in a big city and bicycles are a very common mode of transportation. I've been getting my bike set up so I could go get groceries with it, do small errands around the city, and I'd be able to carry things if I needed to. I already had a rear rack on my bike, but I wanted a little bit more storage capability, so I was looking for a front rack. A front rack for a bicycle can be anywhere between $50 and $150. The rack that I found, it didn't have a name on it, but it was in literally brand new condition. The seller originally wanted 20 bucks. I negotiated and got it for $12. In all of these cases, I used cash, though I think for some big ticket items, the sellers were allowing for like an e-transfer, but I used cash in all of these cases, and I do attribute that to getting some of the deals that I got. So a couple of days later, I had it installed on my bike and it's been working perfectly for me. I took my bike on its maiden voyage with the front rack and it's been awesome. A few days after, I was going out for an evening walk and I found a bicycle front basket on the curb for free. On the back, I already had a milk crate, which I found on the curb for free. So this bicycle was set up for very, very little cost. So moving on to the second thing that I found at the garage sale, the rest of these are all music items that I found, and this was a steal. I got this vintage made in Germany Framus acoustic guitar, and I got it for $10. Now I already have a few guitars, but I wanted one that was kind of a really small, almost child size acoustic guitar that I could still play, but I also didn't want to spend a lot of money on it because I wanted to be able to throw it in my car in the summer and kind of use it as a beater guitar. A guitar that I didn't really have to care about if it got nicked up or anything like that. It wasn't one of my nicer models, but it was something that I could still play and I could still enjoy. Now I assumed that if I wanted a guitar like this, I would have had to pay between $50 and $100. And if I was a little bit more impatient and needed to have it right now, then I maybe would have had to pay that. But because I just kept an eye and I found it at this garage sale, I was able to get it for extremely cheap. Now this isn't just some junky practice guitar. This is a good quality made in Germany brand, and I'm really stoked that I got it for this price because it's much better than anything I would have found for even 4 to 5 times as much money on the used market. So staying in the vein of music, the third thing that I got at this garage sale was an awesome pick. It was something that I've been looking for a very long time, and that is a new guitar amp. Now I've been playing guitar for a very long time, since I was 6 years old. I've had a lot of different guitars and amps over my life. I've had a lot of really expensive and really loud guitar amps over different times in my life. But for the last few years, especially since 2020, I just haven't been playing with groups, and I ended up just going acoustic only, and I didn't have an amp up until now. Now I've had different amps like Vox AC30s, Fender Twin Reverbs, and Marshall Stacks, but I wanted something that was apartment size, something that was not going to break the bank, but also wasn't going to break anybody's eardrums either, especially not my landlord. So I picked up this cheap solid state amplifier. It's actually a pretty gritty sounding amp. It plays clean as well, but it has a good distortion to it as well. It's crunchy and it's fuzzy if you know your guitars. That's a good thing. I don't know much about the make of this amp, but I like that it was tweed. It sounded good to me, and that was all I needed. I got this for 25 bucks. With that amp, if I was going to buy it or sell it used, I think I could get about 75 bucks for it. So 25 is a really good price. Now, another key point here is because I negotiated for these items to get them at a very low price, I had a lot of room in them to try them out and to enjoy them. And if I found that it wasn't something that worked for me, or if something changed in my life where I decided I didn't need that item anymore, I'd be able to sell it for what I paid or make money on it. All right, so the fourth and final thing that I got at this garage sale, the thing that I would honestly call the deal of the century, and the thing, the beacon of hope for me that keeps me just remembering that at some point, there's always going to be that deal that you can just always hunt for that's going to make it all worthwhile, that there's still a deal to be had in the world in 2024 if you look hard enough and if you have a stroke of luck. So you most likely know that I've been talking about for a little while starting a podcast, and I've been slowly and cheaply accumulating gear for that podcast in the last couple of months. I've had my eyes peeled for different sales on items like recorders and microphones, and I've been trying to find the best deals possible. So at this yard sale, I didn't think for a second that I was going to find any item related to starting a podcast, but in fact, I found 2 items. I found this vintage Shure SM58 vocal microphone, and I also found another one, a Shure SM57 Unidyne 3 vocal microphone. Now let's start with this one. This one is a classic podcasting microphone. It's also the most like basic vocal microphone that you've ever seen. If you draw a picture of a microphone, it's probably this microphone. It's most likely, I would say, the most famous microphone that's ever existed, and it is just a classic microphone. This thing retails for $140 Canadian, but I'm glad I held off because I got this microphone for $4. That is right, I got this microphone as well as the not pictured SM57 Unidyne 3, forgive the long name, but it's important. I got them two for $8. And guys, I did not even negotiate for this. This was just the price offered to me when I held up the two mics. The person said $8 and I said, yeah. Sure. Now, I did take a little bit of a risk because I didn't test them, and if either of these weren't working, to have them professionally repaired would probably cost close to buying them new. Thankfully, this one worked, and I'm going to be keeping it and using it for the upcoming podcast. Now, the other microphone, though, did not work, but surprisingly happened to be an extremely rare, made in USA 1970s microphone. If it did work, on the used market, that microphone sells for 500 bucks. So I listed it for $100 just to see if I'd get any bites, and people went crazy for it. I guess I priced it a little bit too low, but I didn't have a lot of money into it, so I don't care. I sold it today for $100 at a $96 profit. So from buying all of the items that I showed you today, I spent $55. But after selling that one microphone at that huge profit, I ended up being up $45 and got all the other items for free. And that is the fruits of implementing these tips, with the help of a little bit of luck, of course. So that's about it for today, folks. I hope you found this video interesting. Let me know in the comments section how you still manage to find bargains despite rising costs. What's a great find that you've picked up recently? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.